se o silêncio dissesse tudo, sentimento bom que me leva pro outro mundo. A vontade de te ver já é maior que tudo. Não existem distâncias no meu novo mundo, tipo coisas da sétima.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, Bryant Pangelinan, got some American bullies. We're at Sabre Jiu Jitsu right now. Open mat. It's a Sunday. Was it January 21st?
Yes,
and
sir.
This is episode, I think, 63, something like that. So Bryant just competed a fight to win. He's like longtime competitor, former world champion from the Show Your Roll brand. So this is it's my second time in this building and my first time in this academy. It's a really nice place, man.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. Really appreciate you guys being here.
Oh, man.
Plus bringing the dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been trolling your Instagram for a while, and we were both on the seminar for the officer from Bay Jiu-Jitsu, was
Yes.
it? A few months ago, and I started following you on Instagram, and I saw you had an American bully, and I'm like, man, I've been looking at those for a while. And I talked to the breeder that you got yours from, and they're fresh out of dogs, fresh out of pups and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I wound up meeting one in El Viso, and he was smart. I went and saw him, and I couldn't pull a trigger. I was indecisive.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I don't know.
I remember.
I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And then he's like, well, just take the dog home for a day and see how that goes. And man, it's like the best sales tactic ever.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm using that. I'm like, no, just take the car home. It's a car sales move.
Right.
And he got me. So,
Well, she's right here. I can see why he got you.
oh yeah, like she's just chilling in the gym, no leash. She hasn't left this general table area.
I know, right? Great dog, man.
Yeah.
Great find.
They're an awesome breed.
Yeah.
So, how long have you had yours now? You have a couple, right?
I have three bully breeds. One American bully. He's my newest. His name's Kobe. He's almost 10 months now. Got him from one of the top bully breeders around, the Unified crew. And I also have a little exotic bully. She's my little butthead.
Oh,
she's
a personality.
She's quite the personality. She thinks she's alpha over the two because I have and she's 4 years old. And then I have an English bulldog. He's my old man. He's 9 now.
Cool.
And so I've had him since he was a pup. And so my nice little pack, 9 months, 4 years old, and 9 years. So, but I love them, and it's just they're the best breed of dogs. I just love them.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I had an American pit for 10 years, 10 years, and then she passed away a few years ago. And she had like very similar color pattern to Bailey's, except she was black and white instead of the blue and white.
Right.
And yeah, she got like a mass or a tumor in her spleen. It was a crazy thing.
Yeah.
I had her since she was like 5 or 6 weeks, and after she passed, I was just I was a wreck.
Torn. Oh yeah,
dude. It took me years to actually be like no. And I was looking at pits again, but then I'm in right dense Bay Area. There's so many people around, and I work a lot, and I do spend a lot of time with the dog, but like I feel like American pits are like more of a working breed. Like you really gotta
you gotta work
get
them.
out.
You gotta get them out. I had one too for several years, and if I didn't get him out, you could tell they just get all pent up and get so much anxiety and energy, and all of a sudden they're like, you come home, the house is destroyed.
yeah. I had a boxer that had real bad anxiety, separation anxiety. You'd leave him. If you left him indoors, he would just shred the blinds trying to get out through the door.
Yeah.
And like just scratch the hell out of the door.
Yeah.
And if you left him in the backyard, there was no fence too tall. He would scale.
Wow.
If it was an apartment complex, like a condo complex once, he scaled, I think, 5 fences to get out and just sort of run around in the front door and try.
That's the beauty of having these guys. They're not so athletic. They're
No.
They're not jumping over fences.
Yeah, like they can be. They get it when she'll be on the bed just like chilling most of the day. But if you let her out, and then when she comes back in, she's so stoked to be be inside.
Yeah.
Then she like has her little warpath. He gets the zoomies or the waggies or whatever they call it, and then she's back to nothing. So when she gets that energy, I try to drag her outside and do the skateboard thing. Let her pull me on the longboard.
It's cool to see that in a short amount of time you got a great dog, and you guys are so connected now. It's great, man.
Oh yeah, she sleeps like she put her head like right on her chest, like she's like real like cuddly, like she's a 60-pound lap dog.
Yeah, right.
So it's pretty cool. We even found this cool black belt collar for her online. So
gotta get one of those.
Yeah, the guys that made it. It's not the Amazon one. It's just somebody, they just make jiu-jitsu belt dog collars.
That's awesome.
It's just some heavy nylon. It's cool, man. So you've you originally you've had this academy in this location for about a year now. This used to be another, I guess, was it like a Hickson affiliate or Henzo affiliate?
Yeah, it was a Hickson affiliate that was here before, and those guys were looking to close up shop. And one of my friends was affiliated with those guys, the Brazilians that were here. And he hit me up, and he's like, hey, man, these guys want to get out of their lease, and they want to do a buyout. Are you interested? And it just so happened it came at the right time because I was having some issues at my prior place as far as my lease. And we were also outgrowing that place as well. And this one fell in my lap at the right time. So took up the lease, got the buyout, and here I am. So it's been over a year now. And since we've been in this gym, we've probably grown by another 60 to 80 students.
Man, yeah. You definitely have some good open space in here. There's, if you wind through a little bit, there's plenty of parking. And it's close to everything. There's tons of neighborhoods here. I like that you have the big garage door in the back.
Yeah, we got a nice roll-up door here in the back. When it's hot, we open it up in the summertime. And matter of fact, some of the guys, we can see we got a prowler here. We got weights. They do their own workouts. We got box jumps. So they'll do a lot of stuff, not even normal, like gym-based type stuff. They'll do their own workouts. And we got battle ropes. We got you name it. So it's like a full-scale place here that we're trying to utilize every amount of space that we have. Matter of fact, my next project here is going to be a shower. So that's on my to-do list.
The shower's huge.
Yes.
Showers are huge. I wish we had him over at AKA Sunnyvale. Like that's the main gym I teach out of, and I've been training over there for years. But I live so close to it, it doesn't matter. But like for the other students, like
sure, oh absolutely.
I live across the street. Like literally, it's under 0.1 mile from door to door. So I could just walk over and. Yeah, just having the nice warm shower after jiu-jitsu is huge.
And that's the only piece that's missing. It's like we have a full-scale kitchen. We got restrooms. We got, weights and everything. Obviously mats, bags, you name it. And the only thing we don't have, shower. So that's coming.
Yeah,
that's coming.
You definitely have space for a shower.
Yeah.
There's definitely space. There's the bathrooms are pretty big.
Yeah.
And you have this whole kitchenette area over here. Yeah, you could definitely add it. It's pretty cool. Like you have the functional training stuff. So when it comes time for competition season, which is basically year round now,
yes,
you're good to go.
Yeah, especially with the start of the year now, my boys and gals, I should say, we're all gearing up for the next tournament season, and a bunch of us just came off of either Fight to Win. Prior to that, we had Nogi Worlds, and even though I have a team of about over 300 plus students, a good core of them, probably 60 to 80 or so, compete. Yep. So
that's actually a really good number.
Yeah, and it's all the way down to my kids. So we it's not something I push on my team or my students, even the kids. I always tell them you don't have to compete to be on my team. Just because I compete doesn't mean you have to do it. And I think that's been great because I have a good core group that would never even think of competing, but they're killers. They're perfect type of jiu-jitsu guys and gals to have on the team because then they mix in with the competitor types, and all of a sudden you get a good mesh of different styles that collide. So
I always think it's. For the people that don't compete, it's they'll say it's time, and it's usually just the anxiety or just the fear, like what's the preparation, what's it actually going to be like squaring off in front of people. Right. And I don't push students to compete, but ones that I see with potential that are actually training consistently, improving. It's a good opportunity to actually have that hero's tale, that hero's journey of there's something that scares you, you approach it, you hit it head on, whenever it happens. But like you come out the other side, like knowing how you handle that pressure and handle that confrontation. Like one of my blue belts, he just had a kid, was married, just had a kid. And, he's legitimately, nervous about, competing. He's very clear about it. He doesn't hide that, I don't know, it's for me. Yeah, you got a family now. And at some point, God forbid, there might be a confrontation. Wouldn't you like to know how you handle that pressure face when someone's in your close
real
proximity?
Life situation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and win or lose, I mean, we all lose matches.
Right.
It doesn't matter that much. It sucks for a minute, but you lose a couple, then that next win and those big wins, like they feel so good. And I feel like if I don't at least encourage it, I'm like depriving them the opportunity to have that growth, to have that. But
what's cool too is like, man, I have some students on the team that came to me at, ground zero, like white belt. First thing out their mouth, coach, I never want to compete. Okay, that's fine. A couple years into it, they're world champs.
Oh man.
So, but then on the far extreme, I got, again, those guys and girls that don't compete. And a lot of them are my law enforcement people. And on my team, I probably have like close to 80 cops in my team.
Oh wow, yeah.
And none of them, maybe a handful, compete, but they all do it for their job. And that's something I truly appreciate. I used to be a police officer myself.
Yep.
So I'm like big on, helping out the law enforcement community and making sure my folks that are out there risking their lives and whatnot are safe.
It's really good to see more police in jiu-jitsu. I have quite a few students from all over law enforcement, like just about every department from SF to San Jose.
Sure.
And it's good to see that they are getting that training, the ground training, just being able to spar on a regular basis. And if you have to worry about getting hurt in competition, not being able to perform your job, you run the risk of getting hurt just training anyway.
Absolutely.
Just as you getting older, stuff's going to pop and click and whatever. So
I always tell people, man, I hurt myself doing normal day-to-day life stuff than on jiu-jitsu.
Oh, totally.
I reached down and grabbed something in the cabinet. Oh, my back.
That's me now. My MCL on the left side, I had a partial tear, and that was training. That was the One World Open mat was like so packed. It was one of like the cold days, so the door stayed closed.
Right.
So there was a nice little puddle of sweat. So I was like going for a takedown, and my knee went this way, I went that way, and there's a little bit more on me up top to make the weight kind of do the wrong thing to my knee. So I've been doing PT. Everything's going good.
Yeah.
So I'm starting to do like this straight up and down stuff at the going with 24-hour fatness.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I bet I can deadlift. Yeah, because you're pushing back on your heels. It should be fine.
Right.
But like I know to tell my students, don't train hurt because your body's going to compensate, and you're usually going to hurt the other side somehow.
Yeah.
Pinch my sciatic nerve on the lower back on the opposite side, and I'm like, I can't even tie my shoes now.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing the boosts, so I don't have to tie them. I just step into them like slippers.
Dude, 2015, I went and did the Rome Open, gi and no gi, and it was day 2 in no gi, and my first match, or it was a second, something like that. It was the semis, and dude shot in on an inside single, and I felt it. Like my LCL popped.
Oh, behind your knee, huh?
Yeah. And I took his back, held on for the win, but went into the finals like hobbling. It's like, oh man, dang it,
It's basically frozen at that point.
Yeah. And so, the guy kind of saw it. So he got the takedown, and I just stood there and stayed in guard, and I couldn't do anything really. I held on, got silvered. I was like, well, at least I fought on. But just like you said, you just kind of keep going.
Yeah.
Forward another week later, I did the Vegas Open. Dude shot in on the other side, popped that LCL, and I took his back and held on for that win. But it was just kind of like, man, like normally I've been a weightlifter all my life and just, lifting heavy, and like, oh man, I haven't squatted heavy since then. And I could have gone under the knife, and one of those things where it's just like, all right, do I, repair myself and PT myself? Or do I just go and get cut up and see if they can fix it? I was like, I don't want to sit on the shelf like that. And I just couldn't do it. I've torn muscles before. I never went under the knife. Here I am with 2 pop LCLs. I'm like, you know what? Let's just do my best. So, I rehabbed myself. I did a lot of water therapy and like little things as far as like learning how to rehabilitate on my own. And I did. Maybe it'll never be 100% again, but I'm back. So.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I saw. So Christina Barlan's the other person I know that she had the LCL injury that she was trying to get repair from the last year's Asia Open.
Yep.
So she healed up. Everything was good. And then the Fight to Win Pro that came up in San Jose last month, I guess it popped in an exchange with Patty Fontes. Mm-hmm. So did you recall what actually, was it a lock, or were they just playing guard and it got kind of twisty?
They were kind of in not necessarily a 50-50, but it was off the transition, I believe, where Patty kind of got into almost a knee bar attack, and just the way it turned, and I recall from the match itself that Patty kind of like looked at the ref, and just like, something's wrong here. And I think Christina just motions like, no, just keep fighting. And then went worse, and then Patty's just like hands off, and that was it. So.
Well, I mean, Christina is like pretty well known as like a prolific like break dancer, right?
Yeah.
So her one of her names back in the day, she was Flexible Chick when she was a a breaker.
Right.
So seeing her doing stuff like that, other people are like, I ain't gonna be able to move the way she does, obviously, but. Yeah, if you already have the MCL, I don't know. Was it the LCL again for her?
I think it was the MCL. From what I know, she just had surgery. Yeah, I saw it on her Instagram.
Like 2 days ago, right?
Yeah, she just had surgery. But yeah, man, it's just unfortunate because I remember when she was trying to come back from that first injury and she rehabbed herself. And it's just like anything. You either have to give it time and then test it out, which she did. But again, she got caught in a funky spot. Yeah. It just happens. It's just a game,
Yeah, and at that high level, it's like anything can happen. Absolutely. Especially like they have very technical games. There's lots of inverting. There's lots of flexibility stuff.
Yeah. Females move different completely, and when they get in certain spots, whereas you and I'd be like, "Oh no," like they'd be like, "Oh, keep going, we're good." Nah, not me. Like I know my limits, and there's just certain areas that I just don't go. And even in training, I might, exercise a certain move and try it. Might not be my thing, but if I feel something that's not right, I'm not going to go there,
Yeah, so I usually sort of put protecting myself first. Mm-hmm. So even if I have to play more conservatively, like if I have to worry about something, whenever leg drags got really popular and people started doing that leg drag pass. We went from De La Riva, and lots of knees were getting popped.
Oh,
and, guys are like, dude, you feel that kind of pressure, you got to let go.
You just got, don't be too stubborn to not give up a position. It's like, come on, dude. Especially if we're just training, just like let it go. Let it go.
I haven't seen as many injuries in competition lately, though, which is good. Just going out. But yeah, it happens. My goal right now is to be able to compete at American Cup, and from there, I'll see. Like right now, I just went to the seminar yesterday, and I can move around and do real light stuff, but it was just sitting there. Yeah. My lower back is screaming at me. Yeah. My knee feels stronger, which is like great.
Yeah,
but an MCL, you can still do stuff.
Sure.
I tore the MCL on my other leg, and that when I was like a blue belt or something, and I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to smash past people anymore. Right. So I learned how to play De La Riva with the other leg, and I used the leg with the torn MCL almost like a jab to like kind of check the thigh, check the bicep, just kind of as a range finder, just to manage space. And I developed a pretty decent open guard having a torn MCL because I had to, and I was just too stupid to just take all the time off. I didn't do surgery either.
Yeah.
I did as much PT and whatever. I did lots of bike. I get on the elliptical. I just try to make sure the muscles around it don't atrophy.
Right. When I was a blue belt, from white to blue, I played a lot of butterfly, and that was just kind of like, it was real popular guard on my team at the time, and everybody was doing it a lot, especially no-gi, and people were doing butterfly guard.
Oh yeah.
And I got into a fight on patrol, and I tore my pec, and it was one of those things where I was like, you know what, I don't want to go under the knife. And I probably only took a couple weeks off from training jiu-jitsu. But it taught me a lot because when I was playing butterfly, I noticed a lot of my arms were getting here, which is out in front. And people would yank on your arms and elbows and shoulders and whatnot. I was like, man, I can't let this side of my body get pulled. Because it was still tender. It was all still coiled up. I could still feel it. God, this was like 2005. And I started to play half, and I would fall onto my right side because it would hide that arm and shoulder and pec just to protect it. And that's how my half guard developed. So it's like you take something like an injury or whatever it might be, or hindrance in your body physically and turn it into a positive. And so I went from being a sit up guard player, butterfly, to now I love half. And and it all stems from an injury. So.
Yeah, I was always the guy like. For the top of half guard, I would do my best to kind of shut it down. I'd kind of sit in posture and kind of trap the guy's calf or their leg basically between my hamstring and my calf and just kind of sit there. And I went to 10th Planet HQ last year, and he was just showing he's like, okay, this isn't really a sweep, but it's how he sets one up. And Eddie would basically sit up into the guy that was like kind of camping or whatever. He just shrug the guy's shoulders just enough. He's like, you don't have to move them a lot, just enough to get their weight off of that calf.
Right.
And he was having us drill this thing where he would snap the guy into lockdown from that position, in like a nanosecond.
Oh yeah.
He's like, just to get their weight off that leg a little bit, and he was under him so fast, and it was pretty cool just seeing okay, this is how people deal with that. This is how people, in situations where it'll kind of carry on for a long time. And I would do that. That would be if I was tired, I'm there and I'm just being heavy on both of their hips together. I'm like trying to back out and pass, but yeah, he showed me that, and I'm like, all right, well.
That's funny because, man, I remember, God, way back in the day, blue belt days, I'd be training at Jake Shields' old place back in Berkeley when he had his academy. And Denny, Eddie's first black belt.
Oh, Procopus, yeah.
Yeah, he would always train over there. And when my half guard started to develop, I noticed I was getting flattened out a lot. And guys were passing. I was like, man, I need to do something to stop this. And I learned lockdown from Denny.
Oh, nice.
And it was, it was in those early days where everybody was, making fun of 10 Planet. Thought they were just a bunch of weirdos with funny names on their stuff. I'm like, man, I latched onto that lockdown and it became part of my game. And even to this day, I love doing the electric chair. So it's like something that goes so far back based off of an injury and into a problem, into a guard piece that turned into a positive. So again, it's like everything that evolved from my injury. Oh, I learned half guard. Oh, I learned how to lockdown. Now I learned how to electric chair. Cool. What else can I do?
So what was the scuffle? What was like the nature of it where you actually tore your pec out in the field?
Oh, man, it was, I remember,
Slightly noise. Yes.
It was a cold winter morning, probably about 2-3 in the morning. I was sitting in my patrol car and it was, really warm in the car. And, you sit there stationary for a while, your blood's not moving and you're staying warm. And God, it must have been like maybe 30 degrees outside. And I worked on the west end of Contra Costa, by the water. So it was really cold then. And I got a call for a belligerent male that was banging on the windows of a convalescent home, drunk guy, frequent flyer. It's like, all right, go down there. I knew who he was. Like, here we go. And the guy lunged at me and swung for me. And I just kind of sidestepped and kind of clotheslined him. So it was me reaching back and going forward, and all of a sudden I felt the pop right in my shoulder and pec area. I was like, oh, that's not right. Took the guy down, hooked him up, took him to jail and the whole nine. But then the very next day, that night I knew something wasn't right. And I told my sergeant, I was like, Sarge, something's wrong. He's like, well, just rest and see you tomorrow. I was like, okay. And I knew right away, like, yeah, that was definitely a pec tear, at least a minor one. And the next morning, it was purple and blue with the whole swelling, and you can see the fluid start to settle. My bicep was swollen. I was like, oh my God, no. So I went back to work anyway the next day, and I finished my shift, and I told I was like, Sarge, I got to go get this checked out. So, and they told me, I got X-rays and the whole thing, and they were just like, this is what's wrong. Thankfully, it was more of the shoulder.
Well, right
where it ties in. Wasn't complete pec, but more, it was a little bit of both. But, enough to where I had to take some time off the patrol and go do PT and rehab. And, because I'd done weight training and resistance training, my whole life. When I was in PT, they'd give me my workout and I'd be like, this is it. This is nothing. Come on, man. I needed a real challenge, And then I just, again, did my own research. And that's why I'm a big believer in learn about your body, doing a lot of things for yourself, whether it be nutrition, exercise, whatever, or your anatomy, learn about it, because then you can start to fix yourself. It's like, you learn how to change the oil in your car. You go do it yourself. You can do so much, obviously to an extent, but I learned how to rehab myself a little bit better than my PT and rehab office did. So, oh well.
Yeah, the thing with going to doctor, and I'm not telling anyone not to go to the doctor, go to the damn doctor, listen to your doctor, first off. Yeah. However, I noticed when you go, they have one specific thing they're even allowed to tell you.
Sure.
Even if there's an alternative that they fully believe is good to go, they're part of a union.
Yeah.
They can only say, this is the AD, whatever it is, ADA, whatever, a specific thing that we're able to treat you this specific way, even if maybe, stem cells are a better thing, or because it hasn't went through whatever rigorous process, it's not going to be mentioned. They're not going to bring it up. And some of the information they pass out there is either dated and arguably some of it's sort of like based on financial things, like
absolutely
getting surgery. Great. I had elbow surgery like my first year into jiu-jitsu. The ligament was torn from an Americana or something, like off the bone. They're like, I'll get a cadaver ligament, it'll be all good. And I went and did the surgery, woke up, and I was in this recovery room, and there had to be another dozen people or so in there too. And I was like, Jesus Christ, it's a business.
Right.
And I didn't really critically think about it beforehand or get a second opinion or anything. I just listened to the doctor and I thought about it. I'm like, well, did I really need it? Was I in that much pain?
Right.
Like, what was I really lacking?
Yeah.
And it was like, and I still can't straighten my arm, so I'm really not sure what the hell.
What did you guys do?
Yeah, like what were we there for? I had to actually go and get a second surgery a few weeks later because they hit a nerve. I couldn't feel like most of my hand for like, it's still pins and needles on these two fingers, like 10 years later, 12 years later, something like that. So yeah, I think get a second opinion, and I'm hoping that changes eventually.
It's funny, man, between my doctor, my dentist, and even my deep tissue therapist, and even my chiropractor, they're like, what we do, obviously it's different than the day-to-day person, so our pain threshold goes way up. So you'll sit there and you'll take all this punishment day in, day out, the years of either grabbing gi or just getting cranked on or just everything, going through chokes, all these movements that we're doing. It's not normal, and obviously it's not totally the best thing for you physically. Mentally, sure, you can get through those hurdles, but I was in my dentist's office the other day and just getting a cleanup, and he was doing his thing, and he's like, I'm just like sitting there, and he's like, you're totally okay with this? I'm like, yeah. He's like, man, I could have other people squirming and begging to stop, and I'm like just sitting there with my mouth open and getting drilled on. It's like, whatever, Same thing with my doctor. He's actually one of my purple belts here. He's like, how you function, I don't know, but because you've been doing this so long, you're used to it. I'm sure you have your own pain. It's like, dude, we just deal with it, right? It's like, I wonder what it's like to not have these pains.
I don't know.
You just function. You just keep going, right?
For me to complain about any specific thing that hurts, it has to mean it hurts more than everything else.
Right.
Like a lot more.
Yeah.
And I don't know how other people measure that. Like the dog, for example, she went and got microchipped. She didn't even know she was like, it's a big ass needle in her back, and she had no idea. She's just looking. She didn't like being up on the table elevated, but the needle itself, she's just like didn't even know. Right. No flinch, nothing. I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty good pain threshold, pain tolerance threshold. Yeah, for me to even complain at all, because like I'm generally in the school of thought that no one wants to hear a grown ass man complain. I teach 6:30 a.m. jiu-jitsu, and I've been doing it for like 6 or 7 years now. We don't have climate control. We don't have heat. We don't have cold. It's like we're like a samurai, man. We train cold for the cold, hot for the hot. Right. That's just a way of saying it. Gym's cheap and we don't have climate control. However, we've made do, and it's been fine. And the first thing I'll tell the new guys, the existing students know, it's like, I get it. You're tired. I get it. You're cold. So last time we're ever going to talk about it, start running. Like that's, nobody wants to hear a grown ass man complain. No one wants. It doesn't look good. And no one really cares. Empathy goes a little bit, but after a while, when someone's just whining and whining and whining, it's like it becomes a drain, and people just roll their eyes, and because they have their own shit to worry about. And
not only that, but then it always sounds cliche, but it's like, man, jiu-jitsu does teach you so much about yourself and how to take those hurdles of pain of getting your butt kicked every day, getting tapped out, getting your elbows popped, whatever it might be, and then you relay it to day-to-day life. It's like, you can get through these things. You're gonna get through. It's going to suck for a little while, but you're going to get through. A couple of my students, they were like complaining about boo-boos in their fingers. I'm like, man, have you seen my hands? My hands aren't straight, like, Kurt's. Like his are gnarly and mangled. And like I remember there's a picture when I did a super fight at Gracie Worlds a couple years back, and I had a broken knuckle and a ruptured tendon on the same hand. And my hand was completely just like mummified. And they're like, what was wrong with your hand? I told them, they're all, oh, and you still fought. I'm like, you just go through it. You just keep going. Maybe I'm too stupid to stop, but I don't know. Just like you, no one wants to hear a grown man complain.
At some point, I see people crazy looking fingers all the time. Each one of mine goes a different direction. Yeah. Just like my knuckles, I don't have like huge fingers, but my knuckles are all like so like arthritic. I wear like a size 14 ring,
right? Because of that.
Like that's how like calcified and jacked up my knuckles are. Yep. That I don't have a jammed or dislocated finger right now is probably because it healed since my knee was screwed up.
Right.
That's what Kurt says. When the guys have to tape up fingers, they have broken toes or fingers or sprains or whatever. He tells them to put some Triactin on it. Triactin like a man.
Exactly.
I said that to one of my students. You could say he was just hurt.
Right.
You could see his feelings were just hurt.
But you know what? It also sets a good example for the young ones, underbelts even. You know, it's like if they see us doing these things despite pain, despite these, even as Kurt would call them, minor disabilities. Yeah. That's what they are. You're gonna get through it.
I went to a pro wrestling school, like a lucha libre school, years ago. I was getting into being a pro wrestler. I'm like, it's like a purple belt or something, blue or purple. And I'm like, yeah, I bet I could do this. Like, I think I was lifting like all the time. It's like, all right, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do jiu-jitsu and pro wrestling training. Yeah, that's a good way to like die.
Right.
All it is over and over is falling on this hard ass surface and getting up and falling, getting back up. And like I would have thought the ring would be softer. It's just a boxing ring. There's no spring.
Yeah,
it's just metal with wood and a little canvas on top. And the mats. This mat would be a joy compared to what you get. It's like the crappiest foam mat.
Oh yeah.
And it just beat the hell out of my back, out of my body in general. And man, they would always say, you know, there's a difference between being hurt and being injured. If you're hurt, make sure the guy you're working with in the ring knows. Make sure people you can try to work around it. Be smart. If you're injured, go home.
Yes,
but like figure it out.
Right.
Make that distinction and like then proceed accordingly. You know, because you're injured, go home because you'll be of detriment to yourself, but you'll be putting your opponent in danger too. Because half their job is protecting them. They come jumping at you like it looks like they're landing on you. No, that dude's catching him, and like you're breaking their fall. Like these guys jumping off the ropes and stuff. The dude that's getting landed on is he's the safety net. Right. And if he's hurt and he's not going to be able to make the catch or whatever.
You're done.
You see, like it's not just great. You'll get injured. We'll have one dude on the shelf. No, you'll have two or three. So. In that culture, like knowing the difference between hurt and injured makes a huge deal to the whole team.
You know what's pretty cool here on my team is quite of my students, they've got major injuries. They've all gone under the knife, you know, but next thing you know, 2 days after their surgery, they're mat side. They're recording, they're getting the curriculum, they're making sure that I'm not missing a day, you know, and that's something I really appreciate because that shows me that no matter what, they're going to learn. You know what I mean? I've seen students, I'm sure you have too in the past. Oh, I hurt my back. You can't show up still, or you know, is there something blocking the doorway? You know, and they'll find those excuses to not get in the gym, even if they have the ability to learn. So those that do show up, man, that's a testament to themselves. So
I got invited to go take a small seminar from Leo Vieira, and I'm all banged up, but I'm like, no, I'll jump on the elliptical for 40 minutes and get some sauna, get everything nice and warm, foam roll, do some stretches and stuff, and I'll at least be good enough to put the darn gi on and do some of the moves. Sure, I'm not going to be doing full rolling with anybody there. Yeah, but I'll be able to get out there and actually do something. Just
not only that, but just to learn from that guy, man.
I'm not missing that.
I saw that picture. I was like, oh,
yeah, he's so cool, man. He's that whole team over there. Because Chris was one of my instructors actually way back in the day when I was a white belt. Still, he had just got his purple. So he was actually when Bobby Southworth left, aka Sunnyvale. We actually got Chris for a little while. And then we eventually turned into One World. We got Mike Prudencio from, now Newark, but Union City at the time, where he split his time between both academies. So yeah, Chris, he was basically under Dave Camarillo for years, and then he went over to Checkmat, which was Leandro, Leo Vieira, all those guys, and they'll. I'm like one of the only people they actually invite over, and it's not them like trying to recruit. It's just like we've been friends for years.
Yeah, that's respect. You know what I mean? That's really cool. You know what's funny is like Chris and I actually fought.
Oh really?
Was it the 2012 or 2013 American Cup? We were both newer black belts, and we fought in the absolute. I beat him by choke, but it was a war. It was a battle. We had a good time, but ever since then, man, we've been good friends.
Awesome.
And that's what's cool. You can sit there and be adversaries on the mat, but then next thing you know, you guys are buddies.
He just had a match with Yamaso, Marcus Torregrosa a few months ago, and Marcus won the Marcus is just he's not human. That guy's
he's one of my close friends, man. That guy's
such
amazing.
A tear.
Oh yeah,
him and like Elliot Kelly up there, they're just cleaning up,
just monsters.
Marcus is just especially like the one thing about him, man. Like every one of his students I've ever met, they love that dude.
Oh yeah,
like. Yeah, not just the ones that compete, just like in general, he's just
a good human being all the way around. He and I have been close friends now for probably a good 5 years now.
Nice.
I've had him for 2 seminars, and my team absolutely just embraces him like his family, and he has that spirit about him. And you're around him just for 5 minutes, you're like, wow, you're the real deal. You know what I mean?
He's a good dude.
Just a good dude, family man. I'm good friends with his wife, and it's funny because. We were just joking about this at Fight to Win. They just had a baby, and they give me thanks for it because when Marcos came out and did a seminar here at my academy, I put them up in a hotel.
Oh, cool!
And they're like, that's when the baby was made.
See, there you go.
Like, you're welcome.
They planted the seed early. Now it's you got to do babysitting. Uncle Brian now.
I know, right?
You're going to be the hey, our babysitter. She can't come through.
I know, right? They'll call me up. Hey, I have no problem with it. I love kids. I love babies.
Just one more for the pack. You got the 3 bullies.
Right. Exactly.
Similar thing. Probably. I don't have kids. I don't know how it works.
Well, it's not too far off. I got a 16-year-old boy, so having a kid and having a dog. Oh man, I don't know who's more expensive.
I had Bailey here with me visiting my mom, and she lives right outside of Las Vegas, and just having okay, I got to make sure wherever we go, it's like dog friendly. Got to make sure because I was basically mobile because I was bouncing between Vegas and Pahrump, or like the town she's in, and I'm like, man, this is like what it's kind of like to be a parent. Like, I'm like the whole time I'm like, well, I can't really go to the gym. I can't leave her in the car like that. You can't bring her in the gym. But then I found a groomer, and I got her like the full spa service, the full spa day. Like, I don't even know. It couldn't have been cheap. Yeah. And she's like, yeah, we'll have her for like 2 or 3 hours. I'm like, cool.
Perfect. It's your babysitter.
Came back. She had a pink bandana. I don't know. It smelled all nice.
That's awesome.
That lasted all of like 3 or 4 days because she just likes rolling in the dirt.
Right.
It's like it's all desert behind my mother's house. She like runs around like back and forth, all excited.
Yeah.
Kicks up all this. There's like a big cloud around her, like a pig pen.
Pig pen.
Yeah. Charlie Brown.
She's great, man. She's great.
Yeah, coolest dogs, man. Like whoever fought to sort of make that breed. They're awesome. A lot of personality. Learn really fast.
Real chill too.
Yeah, it's easy. Sort of good to go. She's got her black belt collar on. She's ready for battle. And by battle, I mean sleep.
Exactly. Sleep, eat.
Yeah. She's really good at both. We got her on raw diet. Like, I never knew about that for dogs. I always heard like, the raw chicken or whatever will give the dogs worms or whatever.
Yeah, I heard about it years back when I first got my first bulldog. And they're like, oh, give her raw. I was like, ugh. And then I, read stories about it. I'm like, oh, dogs are, having bad diarrhea and whatnot. I was like, I don't even want to deal with that. Yeah. So I stuck with a good kibble. I'll give my dogs cuts of meat once in a while, but for the most part, I'll keep it like their kibble.
So Chris Cold Iron he has this giant cane Corso now. It's 20 weeks old and it's already like 70 pounds or something. It's supposed to get up to like 130. Yeah. They're monsters. They're big old Italian Mastiffs, right? Yeah. And he was buying this really expensive kibble. I think it was $100 for like a 20-pound or 40-pound bag, something crazy. Right. And the breeder, or the guy he got it from, said, well, that's basically really nice, really good McDonald's.
Yeah.
Like the kibble or whatever.
Right,
Even
right,
like
right.
the top stuff. And he's like, yeah, just feed her raw. And like, he's telling me all the different stuff feeds the dog. So my dog she eats like just like raw chicken, like eggs, but then also some kibble in there too.
Right. Mix it in there.
Yeah. I don't know it's the grain-free organic one. She eats every type of food that my dog eats costs more and is probably better like all around
Than for yourself.
than my food. Yeah. For sure she eats better than me. I know she does.
Well, it's funny because my dogs, I give them 2 different types of kibble. One more of a grain-free-ish type, and then one made by Royal Canine. It's like specifically for bulldogs. Okay. So if it's for bully breeds, I was like, oh, this is good for hips, joints, and all their usual little boo-boos that they have. And they take supplements just like I do. They have 2 kinds of liquid formula that I mix in. Okay. They get one for the morning and one for the evening. So it's just like, you guys are so spoiled. It's crazy.
Yeah. There's dog supplements, man. There was some the Unified guys. I think they advertise one sometimes, like some liquid gold or something.
That's the one I used.
Okay.
You gotta get it, man.
That's the one I found. I found that one, and I found there's something called Bully Max.
I used to give that to my dogs. They didn't take to it that well.
The price is it always been so expensive?
Yeah.
It was. Yeah. There's a $200 bag.
Yeah.
It's 40 pounds. Yes. $200.
But you know what? It's like I don't mind it spending the money on these guys. If it gives them a better quality of life, then why not? That's why you buy the better dog food. It's just like giving yourself the good fuel. We're gonna eat the better food. We're gonna move around a little bit better. Yeah. And my English bulldog, he's a 80-pound turd ball. Oh wow. So he looks like a little caterpillar. But it's like, what? He's a happy dog and he's a good dog. So it's like, what? I'll keep him that way. I like him the way he is.
Right on, man. So do you guys have open mat here every Sunday?
Yeah, every Sunday we have open mat. And matter of fact, one of my purple belts, she's trying to start up a hot hula. Yeah. And, it's cool. On my team, we have such a huge range of people with awesome, amazing personal skills, whatever it might be. And she's asked me a little while back. She's like, Coach, do you mind if I maybe start up like a hot hula thing? I was like, dude, the mat is yours. But we always get a good collective of people, kind of like at One Woke. This morning at Open Mat, there's probably at least 5 teams on the mat. A bunch of them are my students, but students from outside that I've known, they were either my student before, or they just know that, man, I'm all about no politics. I don't do any of that. I don't care what your patch says. Come in here, have fun. We train. And I get students every week that come in here and train with me from other teams, even black belts. So it's cool. I like to keep my door open that way. And it's not like it used to be, or at least how when I came up back in the day. You don't cross train, you don't do the, you know what I mean? Like all that. It's like, come on, we don't own these people. And I look at it as like, why would I tell my friends not to go hang out with other friends? Like that's just, I'm not into that cattiness,
Yeah, it's a lot different than it used to be. Some schools are still pretty, set that this is exactly where you're going, and
right.
Don't go outside of the affiliation or whatever, or the academy if it's only one gym. Right. There's less of it now, but it's still around.
Yeah.
Especially when come competition time or competition season, like close to Pans and Worlds. People don't want their secret sauce getting out there.
Right.
I mean, I get it. Like what I've. The concepts that I've heard, they're trying to protect their students. Sure. Some gyms don't even allow drop-ins.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's how they want to run their business. But at the same time, if those moves that your techniques, whatever you submissions, sweeps, whatever you're trying to show that you don't want other people to see until the first of all, everything's been done.
Everything's been done.
And even the new stuff is old stuff that
renamed
that they don't use much anymore.
Right. Right.
Or someone throws like a catch wrestling tweak to a move that's already a move. Yeah. And the other thing is, if they're going to use it in competition that year, we'll know it next year anyway.
Absolutely.
Because if that technique was truly successful, everyone's going to be watching those videos because there's who's the one guy that breaks down jiu-jitsu, the matches and techniques, almost like a professor type thing. They go through every a match. Almost like color commentary, but they break it down it's all scientifically.
Right, I know what you're talking about.
The jiu-jitsu something.
I know what you're talking about.
I couldn't watch much of it, but I saw once. I get bored with some of them.
Yeah,
so much stuff.
It's funny because just like you said, it's all been done. There's just new ways to tweak things. There's new ways to set stuff up. There's new grips maybe, or a tweak to a grip. And I don't know. I just see it as better know your fundamentals right away. You better know all your basics right away and then build from that. And that's one thing I instill in my students. Like, you better make sure that these are all there. Your ability to defend yourself, number one. And, I love old school stuff. I still do it. I love new school stuff. I'm all about teaching my students, because my thing is this, especially for my students that compete. If they got hit with something and they didn't know what it was, that's my fault.
Yeah.
My fault for not introducing it to them, or at least showing it to them. So like, hey, this is what's out there. So that's part of the reason why, like, these last 5-6 years, I've competed so much as black belt, to know what's out there and to, provide it to my team. Like, hey, this is what the guys are doing. This is what we're going to learn, blah, blah, blah. But, it just, if you stick set to, oh, this is the only way, or that doesn't exist. Like, anytime I hear those things, I'm like, it does. It's out there. People are doing it. They're taking moves from every kind of facet of grappling and applying it, and they're using it, and whatever it might be, it's working for a lot of people. And why not learn every part of it? So that's why here at my school we do gi, no gi, wrestling, and judo. So I want to make sure my students are versed and prepared, at all levels. So no matter what, nothing ever starts strictly from our knees or from our butts. You better learn stand up. You better learn how to take a throw. You better learn how to take a fall from getting double leg. Everything. And the other one that always cracked me up over the years is hearing this, whenever students like came to me and they're like, hey, let's go train some no-gi. I don't know no-gi. What? That doesn't make sense. That never made sense to me, and it made me laugh. And I did a private lesson with 2 of my kids this morning, and I even asked them, like, you guys, if we took the gi off, do we still know JiuJitsu? They're like, absolutely. Like, without even flinching, they are like, yeah. So when I hear, like, grown adults as high as like purple or brown say, oh, I don't know no gi. Like, what? So if I took this off, you wouldn't know what you're doing?
You still have the same number of limbs. It's space distance management.
Right.
You just have to pay more attention to, the distance part of it, the angles and
the
stuff.
The speed of things might increase. The grips just change from a sleeve to a wrist, from a collar to a neck. You know what I mean? It's all the same. It's all the same.
I'm really big on using like the tip of my like the ring and middle fingers as like an anchor for either the back or the top of the armpit, or in the cup, like the hip right there. Mm-hmm. I use that so much. Like, I grab fabric if I'm going for like a collar choke and setups that involve the collar and stuff. But I mean, I don't use it like that. I'll cup the elbow. I use the elbow drag a lot. So like I'll just 2-on-1 on the elbow and bump my hips and chuck it over.
Bring it over. Right.
Like there's like abbreviated arm drags. I use those a lot, but just straight up grabbing fabric, I don't do it that much.
You got to manipulate both the body and the grip. So either way, if you sit here and say I don't know no gi, then there's something wrong with your jiu-jitsu.
It can be faster, and depending on what rules people are playing with, you're gonna have to remember you have legs again.
Right.
I don't get how leg locks weren't a thing for a long time, but now it's like it's I guess magnified how like into leg locks people are now, because
it's nothing new. Even that, I mean, Donna, her system obviously it's stemmed from learning from something else.
It's Eric Paulson's system,
right?
That's been around as long as catch wrestling and sambo has been around. So this is just as long as jiu-jitsu itself. Oh, I was at the what was it? Valente Brothers Academy. There was a big compound in Miami Beach. This thing's choice.
Right.
There's cameras everywhere. They have like this whole like not broadcast room, but like a control room where they can watch like everything. And then they have a library they're building right now. And in the library, they have these original like photos and slides from like the original, I guess, stuff that it was Elio Gracie and Carlos Gracie, Senior, whatever. Like they're going through and this is this technique and this technique, and they're just slides page by page. And there were a bunch on legs. There was a heel hook. There was a straight ankle lock. There was multiple knee bar setups, and so that the idea that the original Brazilian or Gracie Jiu-Jitsu didn't have leg locks or they were this or that. No, it's not true. It was in the curriculum. It was right there, and that's like stemming back from the 1950s or something.
It's funny, man. When I first started jiu-jitsu in 2003, I started at the Gracie Academy, and man, my first teammates were the Diaz brothers and Jake Shields and Gilbert Melendez. And my first class was not sit here and tie your belt pretty and, you know, learn how to do a hip escape, just like throw me out to the wolves, you know? And it was like, I was a white belt doing heel hooks and knee bars, and, you know, you had to learn how to survive. And that's what, in my mind, like, I'm glad I had that upbringing in those early years, because it taught me a certain side of this that's option for you to attack. But not only that, but, you know, I see definitely a lot of places around have been watered down either for safety reasons or for a lack of knowledge of something, not knowing how to do those attacks. But, you know, it's just, if you have the ability to follow all these guidelines of how to defend yourself, you better think about the rest of your body. So.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, if because you said two things, you said like safety issue and the knowledge of it. And if you do not have the knowledge of it, then it is a safety issue.
Absolutely.
Because like if you don't have the wherewithal to know like which way is my knee supposed to turn, like you have guys that try defending heel hooks but it's rolling over, and I'm like, no, you got to elevate your hip, and it's like you have to unwind it. Like you're in a toe hold, you got to unwind it. Like it's you can't just boot through. Not everything is a straight ankle lock.
Right.
And people don't know it because they'll see a cool move and they'll try to replicate it because YouTube JiuJitsu is like probably, you know, the one of the instructors that gets like, you know, people pay way more attention to the YouTube JiuJitsu as an instructor than the real instructor. You have so many people in class like just zoned out, or they're, you know, like the number of people that are present in class, like, because you look around sometimes and they'll just say, let's just roll, guys. You know what I'm saying?
Man. Yeah, you know, I do appreciate, sure, you want to roll, let's roll. Getting in your mat time, putting in those hours, and feeling that grind. But if you were to ask me, it's like, should a student, especially a new one, open mat versus curriculum? You better go learn stuff. You better put yourself in there and drill until you're blue in the face, till you can't do it no more, and then show me how you roll after. You know what I mean? Like I just, meathead jiu-jitsu is funny to me because it just breeds bad habits over and over and over again. And then when you see people constantly, not to say that open mats are wrong, but when you see people just, I'm sure you've seen them, people that just look for open mats. It's like, dude, do you not want to learn anything? Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
they want to get their fix. You know, they got the jiu-jitsu addiction or whatever. Right. Which is cool. It's cheaper than crack.
Sure.
It's fine.
Yeah.
That's cool. Do that.
Sweetie.
But yeah, the you know, drillers make killers. You gotta do the work. Or what are you actually doing? You're just trying to replicate something you saw in a video. And how's that going to work? Like, you can't just watch a video and say, oh, the pressure's here and here. No. Because you can have somebody in knee on belly and just do it totally wrong. And it's just like, you don't even feel like there's a person on top of you. Yeah. Or you can have a 120-pound person that knows how to direct that knee directly in the right
distribution
place.
of weight.
Yeah. And you're not going to get that just watching a quick tape or a fight or something.
Exactly. She's so good, man. Yeah. She was like coming up on my chair right here.
Yeah, she's chill. Super chill dog, man.
Awesome.
I lucked out. So what's next? Are you on the Oakland Fight to Win?
I am not. Matter of fact, I got asked to fight on that card, but I will be in Germany. Cool. I got seminars out there. One of my purple belts, what's that? Oh, sorry. One of my purple belts, he's in the Air Force. And I actually went and I did a seminar for those guys out there 2 years ago. And he's bringing me out again. And it's the same weekend as a Fight to Win out in Oakland. So some of my guys are fighting on it, but unfortunately I'll be doing jiu-jitsu at 2 different places and looking for castles. So
absolutely.
Matter of fact, I was born in Germany, so it's kind of cool.
Military family?
Yeah. My dad was in the military, and I was born in Germany. And so, you know, going back there again, it's going to be really, really fun. Really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, my dad was Air Force. I was born in the States, but Germany would be cool. Germany would be very cool, man.
It's changed a lot. Matter of fact, I lived there from 87 to 89. So I was like elementary, middle school. And it was still when the wall was up. So, you know, Berlin was still, you know, the whole thing. And then I didn't go back until 2 years ago.
Wow.
So, you know, a whole lapse of time, you know, the wall going down, things changing, Euros, you know, all this stuff. It's like, wow. So when I got to Germany 2 years ago, I was like, whoa, this is really different than what I remember, you know? So I'm just, again, it's an opportunity to reconnect again, not only with my student that's out there, but his team.
Cool.
I'm going to be 2 different Air Force bases, so it's going to be really cool to meet all these soldiers and, you know, meet that whole community of people that, man, they're starving for knowledge out there, and it's cool that I can connect with them. And I'm also part of the Mission 22 program.
Oh, awesome.
And, you know, I'm a big supporter of that. And, you know, if I can help those guys in any kind of way and let them know, like, hey, you're not alone, you know, when you get out of the service, you still got, look what you got jiu-jitsu. And my school also is part of the We Defy Foundation.
Oh, nice.
And we're one of 2 here in NorCal, I believe. And, you know, what it is basically if a disabled vet goes through the We Defy Foundation and applies for a jiu-jitsu application, they'll send them to me. So basically, certified through the VA and We Defy help to cover those costs for that student just to train. So it's kind of like a scholarship.
That's very cool.
So yeah, man, and you know, my dad being a vet, and we have a bunch of vets on my team. You know, we have the flag up in here, we have the banner up in here. You know, it's just like we're a big part in the community.
Nice.
And I always try and make sure that I teach my guys, like, hey, you know, it's more about this teaching chokes and stuff. You know, you give back to the community. We do stuff for cancer, AIDS, leukemia, autism, and I really try and make sure that we get involved community-wise, because that's what it's about. And if I can help people in and around me, just my community alone, why not? You know. So.
Absolutely. Are you guys affiliated with any of the local police departments, or?
I've done many classes, and we've actually held law enforcement classes here. I do private one-on-one lessons with many cops in the area that are, defensive tactics instructors for their own departments and whatnot. So there's no official affiliation between me and any kind of department, but I'm helping cops weekly. You know?
Awesome.
So it's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, it's with all like the media crap going on, it's good to see that there's more, I guess, opportunities for good training for some of the departments. Because not every place has the budget to go and actually have more advanced training for the officers.
Sad. Yeah.
And it's needed, and not just for the image sake, just because it's a hard job.
Right. Oh, man. You know, it's crazy because I left law enforcement end of 2009, and the climate in society has changed even since then, like night and day.
Yeah.
All my friends that I was cops with then, they tell me now they're all bright. It's like, it's way different now. It's crazier now. I'm like, God, I couldn't even imagine. Everybody's sitting there with a phone in hand. Everybody's sitting there, you know, questioning you and everything you do. And it's like, man.
Oh, they all have their YouTube law degrees.
Everybody's an expert, you know. It's like, it's terrible. But
yeah, what are they? I saw one recently where the woman was pulled over for something but refused to show her ID and just mouthing off and just she prided herself in being like a law something or other, like a law. It was like not even like a fan of it, almost. Like, it was so stupid. She had like a whole social media account about her being like a wannabe law expert or something.
And I'm sure every comment on there was just like, you go, girl, you tell him.
A lot were like, man, she deserved it, because she was having a whole tantrum. There was a number of officers trying to get her to show the ID, roll the window down, something. She had every chance in the world, and they wound up breaking her window and taking her and cuffing her. Sure. Just super defensive right from the get-go. Just wanted to mouth off, and I don't have to do this. I don't have to give you my ID. The only reason I have to give an ID is if I broke a law, and traffic infractions don't count as breaking a law. It's like, dude, stop. Geez. And she's just mouthing off. And actually, this is one of the times where the majority of the comments were like, this lady deserved to get her window broken.
Oh, yeah.
It was stupid. all those videos are stupid. Everybody gets so mouthy and immediately postures and they're defensive. And it sucks, because what the civilian doesn't know is that the officer has to approach it as if there's a gun in play, because there is one. Yeah. Just because it's on your belt doesn't mean that couldn't change in a flash. If you have some crazy person, and you don't know how skilled someone is, don't know how fast somebody is, or how crazy someone is. Right. You can't teach crazy.
No, you cannot.
So the idea that the officer is not like omnipotent, and some could be disarmed, and all of a sudden now there's a gun in play. So it's like they approach vehicles with caution, and they have certain guidelines they follow, because that's in the best interest of everyone's safety. The one carrying the weapon, the one without the weapon, the civilian, the officer, and people don't seem to want to empathize with that.
No, they don't. It's just obviously everybody's an expert on the outside. Everybody that sit there wants to criticize and tear the law enforcement, community down and call them killers or call them, out of line for doing their own job. For instance, that officer that was all over the social media for giving a citation to the street vendor over in Berkeley. I've known that guy for years, and he's a great guy. He was just doing his job, and wrong place, wrong time in regards to somebody sitting there filming them. And I'm sitting there watching him give a citation to this guy that didn't have a card to sell, basically food on the street. I'm like, what's wrong with that? I used to give citations out. I used to do the same exact thing that he did. No one just ever sat there with a phone.
That's a law. That's a public health risk. That's a good law,
right?
Like there are dumb laws, and eventually the people decide as a group, as a society, they're dumb laws, and they make them not laws anymore. Yeah. And stupid should hurt. So if you're selling food without a permit, it's like, first of all, that person's a stranger anyway. But now this person's not even authorized to be here. What's he putting in the food? Is this a good person or a bad person? Is this a good burrito or a bad burrito?
Right.
And with the permit, there's some accountability that goes back to a kitchen somewhere that says, no, this is a clean business. Right. They're cooking up to these standards. They know the law. They did the right stuff. Yeah, I get it. Not everybody can afford to do all sorts of things. Well, maybe they shouldn't be selling food to the public then.
Right. Not to mention, it's like they sat there and they tore him apart for doing his job, collecting the evidence of the money that was part of the case, but then giving pity to the guy that's obviously he's trying to make a living, but it's like, okay, you're going to make a living, go do it right? And what if somebody created a GoFundMe account for him and raised thousands just for the guy that was getting the citation? It's like, come on, dude. Wow. Oh, well.
It's funny how many
GoFundMe, man.
it's funny how many GoFundMe and whatever the other one's called, Indiegogo and shit. How many of those are online for people that cancer, all kinds of stuff, and there's nothing. People aren't donating anything. But as soon as the people that are recreationally offended is well the ones that not the Me Too movement thing, that's a different thing, but I mean just people in general like to pile on whatever goes viral on social media. They just want to pile on.
Absolutely.
Just recreationally offended sort of snowflake types.
Oh man.
I'm pretty much down the middle with a lot of things politically. But I think we got soft at some point.
I just see it as just be a good person and you'll be okay. Be nice, be polite, be assertive, be firm. Don't put up with anything that doesn't take you into something that's illegal. Like Jesus Christ, common sense should tell you quite a bit, but if you're lacking it, I hate to say it, but man, something's wrong there.
I think a big root of it is a lot of people play the blame game. Nobody wants to take responsibility. If there's people don't take responsibility for personal failure, and because of that, they never grow, and they wind up getting bitter instead. And then that bitterness will turn into, they'll start taking liberties with other people's stuff because they feel they deserve and they're owed things. So I feel like that the root of it is just people need to start taking responsibility for their own success as well as their own failure, rather than it's a slippery slope, and it goes that way, and that it turns into bitterness, and you have people taking advantage of people, shortcuts, breaking the law, whatever. And I'm not saying every single law is perfect, and that's why the courts exist, and cases are there, and there's case law, and precedents are set, and laws change. It's not regulations like the military. That's why we have court. It's different. It's like, how does this situation apply to this, law specifically? And things change as times change.
It's funny though how you can sit there and take even stuff from like this, talking about how people are, how they take perceptions of things, how they can take it wrong, but then take these types of personalities and you can see how, oh wow, these personalities on the mat, the haphazard type person, the lazy person, you know what I mean? You see it all even on the mat, how these personalities can come to life in front of you as far as jiu-jitsu. It's I don't know, maybe I read into it too much, but I sometimes I watch my students You're the same way off the mat.
Yeah. There's you got the real hard-headed type, the one that they do the same thing over and over, no matter what move they learn. They're like, no, this is the 3 things I do.
Right.
And then you have the one that no matter, what they learn fundamentally, it's like they'll do a worm guard, they'll do a berimbolo, but God forbid they try to hip escape. Like they can't get out of side control.
They can't get out of side control of the mount to save their life.
No. Oh, he's too big, he's too strong,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. It's
Oh, man.
we have some, much smaller people that I'll just bring them over as an example. Like, no, you're able to stay in side control like that because you're 220 pounds or something. I'm like, I learned the side controls that I go to most. I learned it from Leo Vieira, and that's not a big guy. He's a little larger now, but we all are.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? Like when I learned it from him, he was in like fighting shape, and he was,
Tons of pressure
you
from
were
a small
stuck
guy.
on that. And I drilled it with Josh Thompson when he was, still around like 160, 155. And when he locked it into the same thing, I couldn't get up either.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have to figure out how does the move work. It's
Right.
like, oh, the elbow, this, but whatever. You got some guys that are, they just want to make excuses, and you could hear it coming out like, the reason that this works for you is because you're bigger. Like, no, it's jiu-jitsu. Right. The reason this works for you is because it's jiu-jitsu.
That's why, I think it's for everybody for the first couple months.
Yeah.
And then you start to weed them out. It's like, oh, now I know why you're gone.
Yeah.
It didn't work for you. Right. And those who stick around, you start to see it like, you're the type that it can actually handle these type of things. Physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever it might be, you're okay with it. But, it just takes a certain breed of person to come out and do what we do. And I don't know. I give everybody that open arm benefit of the doubt in the beginning. But when you start to see things break down, you're like, okay, maybe this isn't for you.
Yeah. I've seen some kind of go that way. And it was like, no, I'm not going to argue that.
Yeah.
You're probably right.
Yeah, right.
So what originally got you into it before we wrap up? Like, was it PD first and then jiu-jitsu, or jiu-jitsu first and then PD?
No, it's funny, man. I wrestled my whole life as a kid, high school, and even into the college years. I was wrestling a lot of freestyle and whatnot. And then I had a stint in bodybuilding, matter of fact.
Cool.
I was a competitive bodybuilder for years, almost turned pro. The whole nine. I was a house. I was like 285, my biggest.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I was a big kid. And then I got out of that and just kind of got burned out. And
things falling again.
It got to the point where I was like, I need my new outlet. I need to do something. So I got back into wrestling and was, matter of fact, competing and training Greco and freestyle quite a bit. 2003 was my last freestyle competition. And that was the same year I started jiu-jitsu.
Nice.
And so it became a new outlet. And all my teammates at the time, my best friend, we're still best friends now. It's like, he was like, hey, yeah, come down to the Gracie Academy. They need some big wrestlers. I was like, okay, cool. I had no idea who any of those guys were. I was taking everybody down, but I was getting choked left and right. I was like, oh, what is this? I got to learn this. I obviously remembered it from the early days of like UFC and whatnot, but never paid much attention to it. Took a class, matter of fact, back in like 95, 96 when I was still living in Hawaii from Helson Gracie.
Oh, cool.
But I just thought it was like sloppy wrestling in pajamas. I was like, this isn't, this is a fad or whatever. And, it wasn't until 2003 that I was like, you know what? This is what I want to do. And it kept me in it as far as like, I remember at an early phase, white belt, blue belt, I was like, I want to get my black belt one day. And that was my goal. And it wasn't even about winning worlds. It wasn't even about winning Pan Ams or anything. It was just, I want to better myself. And then I became a cop 2 years after, or like a year after, something like that. And so it became part of my job. And, it was just one of those things where I was like, I found this nice balance of, it helps me out to break away from my day-to-day grind as a cop. I have a son. I was trying to, maintain my sanity, I guess you could say. 'Cause, it was wearing, you go and deal with people that'll spit in your face and say F you all day long. And you sit there with a smile. It's like, wow, I need an outlet. And so it became greater. And I really started to gravitate towards wanting to learn more.
Speaking of that, man, we should there should be some kind of grant for like postal workers and maybe like DMV employees.
Totally.
Like you guys get free jiu-jitsu.
Seriously,
people shit all over.
Man,
it's terrible.
Bad. It's bad. But I guess you could say I never thought I'd be where I'm at. Doing all that I've done. I've competed all over the world, won Worlds, won Pan Ams, and all these things, and been invited to all these great things, part of all these causes and stuff. And it's like, I'm glad it's going in this direction as far as what I'm doing, because I think at my age now, I'm like, I've done it all as far as what I wanted to accomplish competition wise. But now seeing my guys get better, helping people out on a different level, just like they say, use your talents to help people. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah, man, you're definitely a big benefit to the community over here. So
man, thank you.
Yeah, it's great. All the stuff with the law enforcement, with military, We Defy, Mission 22 are both amazing organizations. Yep. I think Chris does stuff with Mission 22 as well over at Luch.
Yep.
And sort of that's a really important cause for people that don't know Mission 22. The 22 comes from, there are 22 veteran suicides like every day in the United States.
Yep.
And so this is to raise awareness of this, and I guess to facilitate getting the veterans the help they need, whether it's mental health services, or there's other organization that was like Pets for Vets or something like that, or they service dogs for veterans and stuff like that. PTSD. So there's a lot of really great organizations.
Yeah, there's another one actually, Mission Volant. I have a banner up. I got together with those guys not long ago, and those guys are taking disabled vets and putting them into not necessarily extreme sports, but those type of adventures. Cool. And using adventures with like a camaraderie and a team setting, as obviously they came from that. They're trying to reintroduce it back into their life and use it as therapy. But it's like whatever you can do to help people, man, whether it's vets, day to day, whatever it might be, use your talents.
That's awesome, man. Well, we've been here a little bit. I'd like to give you some of your Sunday back. We ran ran a little bit late.
Oh, good. We had doggy date, so it was cool.
yeah. Our dogs had their first date. They're cool. It's cool. They're a lot of fun, man. Well, again, man, thank you for agreeing to do this. I appreciate the invite in here.
Always welcome. Always welcome.
Awesome renovations. Yeah. Very cool gym, man.
And you guys are always welcome to come down anytime.
I got to heal up and come roll with you guys. For sure. Any plugs? Sponsors you want to give shout outs?
Show Your Roll always, Max Muscle Walnut Creek. Those are my people that have been behind me forever. And, my team is great, man. I love these guys and gals that, I can sit here and come here every day and just come here with a smile on my face just because of these people that are here. So that's it.
Very cool. And mine, I got to shout out One World Jiu-Jitsu, aka Sonny Bell and Want versus Need. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Episode 60 something in the can.
Thanks, brother.
Cool, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Absolutely. Oh, no, she's